Hello today, welcome to the confusing cities of Japan, as I'm looking for some imports to buy today, but sadly kidnappings are in the way. So today we're talking about 428 Shibuya Scramble, and you'll have to pardon me if I completely butcher some names and words and terminology in this, because this is a game focusing around Japan, and as we know, I can't pronounce crap. Anyway, we are looking over the PS4 version, but this was originally a Nintendo Wii title. Then it was ported to the PSP and PS3, also in Japan. Now those three versions are Japan only, from what I understand completely. But the PS4 and PC versions of this game got a worldwide release. So this is a Chunsoft title. Now, if you're not familiar with Chunsoft, interestingly, was the company that helped program the original 4 games of Dragon Quest on the NES, interesting enough for their history, while Spikesoft is well known for crazy visual novel and puzzle type games in their library, but they have also done other things. Both companies have also done both other things. But anyway, if you're interested in things like Zero Escape 999 and Danganronpa, this is the company Insane that's behind that. So, something interesting to point out about this game came out 1 year before 999 came out, and it came out, I believe the original Danganronpa came out, I think it was 2010 for the PSP. I know the original Danganronpa was a PSP title. I think it came out in 2010, while 999 came out in 2009 in Japan. So this game came out in 2008, and interesting, many elements from this game, the jumping between characters and such, really reminds me of things from those games. The visual novel, story, the mystery, and everything. So some people, while trying to get some of my information about the history of this game, some people actually point to this game being an inspiration for Danganronpa in 999. So that's an interesting little note there. So I definitely also would recommend checking out the game if you're interested or a fan of those games. Now, unlike those games which use anime type styles, this uses actual people, real people. So if you're not really into actual people, then that might be a downgrade, but I really liked the story and characters. So anyway, what's up the story? So this is a puzzle visual novel game. The puzzles come in basically finding the way through the storyline, because you play through 5 different characters' perspectives, and their actions affect other characters, and you have to jump between those characters to continue the storylines, or sometimes completely alter what they do, because something that you chose or something someone else does causes a bad end, and you have to change that to continue the story forward. So you begin with 2 characters, you get up to 5 characters, and you tackle chunks of 1 hour blocks until the end, which the final chunk is 2 hours instead of 1 hour. But besides the end chunk, every chunk of the game is an hour. So, what's happening in the story, the beginning, now obviously I don't want to go too much, so I'm only going to talk about the beginning for the non-spoiler portion of this. So, the setup, the story is that a twin sister couple, one gets kidnapped, and basically the other one gets set up to have to take a ransom to a meeting location while the cops are staking out the area to try and catch the kidnapper in that. This leads to an insanely crazy convoluted storyline that I can't even begin to get into without massively spoiling it going on. But believe me, the story will take many twists and turns, and at the end of the game, you'll get a section where you'll start slowly trying to figure out the meaning and the purpose behind everything that happened in the game up to that point. A kind of a recap, you could say, with one of the characters. So the 5 characters did just give you a little summary of the 5 characters, not going into any spoiler type things for the end portion. That will go to the spoiler section of the video at the end. So you play as a young man who is a son of an electronics store owner. You play as a police officer, a scientist who has connections to the case, a journalist, and a mysterious character trapped in a cat cosplay suit. Now, these characters all sound complete like a random teenager, a police officer, a journalist, a scientist, and somebody trapped in a cosplay outfit. Now, when I told you the initial setup is a kidnapping story, you're probably wondering how any of this shit is involved with each other. And like I said, getting into that just goes... There's no way to avoid spoilers getting into it, so this takes place in Shinobi. I know pronouncing it what Shinobi. It's a busy town area, shopping area in Japan. I believe it's a pretty big shopping area, ain't it? And you run around the streets and that, going to different areas while trying to figure out this kidnapping story that slowly becomes insane, crazy plot. Now, like I said, you jump between the different character storylines because you will get bad endings. You would have probably better odds of winning the lottery than getting all the right answers blindly on your first playthrough for everything. I highly doubt you're going to make it to the end with every single right choice, because you would be surprised what bizarre things you think they're completely insignificant that could get someone else freaking murdered. It is ridiculous, some of the silly things. And there are some... This is both a serious and lighthearted game. Like, there were scenes that were just completely comedic. Other parts that were just twisted and disgusting. This goes all over the place. I would probably compare it to 999, where it had its comedic sections and more serious sections, and not as batshit weird as Danganronpa. Like I said, this is more based in the realism, because it's using realistic actors and things and locations as opposed to a bunch of fantasy shit or hypothesis stuff in 999's case. But honestly, I really enjoyed this visual novel. Like it's really hard to comment on. And being a game that was originally for the Nintendo Wii, it looks really nice for the PS4. Like I said, it's mostly... You know, you get a few little movie scenes of wheel motion, but it's, you know, a bunch of stills being shown over with text overlay on them. So, I did notice a few little, what seemed like a few little errors with the... I wouldn't say it was like biking or anything. It just seemed like a little odd choice, but that's just me. Maybe I'm just crazy at it. But overall, the story was really good. It boasts having 50 different possible endings, but that's because there's like 80-something bad endings, and then you got a normal ending, a true ending. Now, after you finish the storyline, like I said, there is a true ending that depends on your final choices in the final block that gives you a little extra on the characters, and then you can unlock an additional character storyline that accompanies the story going into the before the ending of... Now, I have not played through the storyline. I only got the normal ending. I researched to look up what you do to get the true ending, so I haven't gotten to do that section yet, just to throw it out there. But I will tell you, this additional character you unlock after you get the true ending is an anime-looking storyline where it's using anime and not real actors. Reason I want to bring this up is I don't know if this is new or in the original Wii version. I could not find a lot of information on the Japanese version, you know, being English. So I am interested to know if this content was added to this version or if it was in the original version. It's also interesting to note that there was a 13-episode sequel to this game, as an anime that has to deal with several characters that are in/mentioned in this game. So that's also something to check out after you play through this game, possibly. From what I can tell, it did actually come out in America, the anime, so that's kind of odd, because this game came out, I think about a year or two ago. Let's see, when did this game come out? 2018, yeah, it came out last year, and the anime, if I can bring it up real quick, if it has, the anime came out in 2009 and its original one. I'm not sure about the American version, but it does show a American license for it, so I would imagine there's something of it out there, but I'm not familiar with it. So you might have to check that. And the anime was made and filmed, by Type Moon, made the anime sequel to this game. Now, this game is also apparently considered a spiritual sequel to a Sega Saturn game that Chunsoft made in 1998 that also takes place in the exact same location in Japan, called Machi? Not sure how to pronounce it. Apparently it literally translates as city, and it's considered a sound novel, which I'm not familiar with that. It's for the Sega Saturn. Apparently it was also later released in 1999 for the PlayStation, so being on the Sega Saturn, perhaps Pad may know a bit more about that, because he has a lot of Japanese Sega Saturn games. So he might be more familiar with that. Can I recommend this game? Being it a older title, it's easy to get your hands on it if you have a PC or PS4 for English. And if you understand Japanese, I'm sure you could probably get either the PS3 or the Wii version probably pretty cheap, considering the more new iteration of the game. Now, there was no voice acting in this. It's all text, so if you go that route, you need to be able to read Japanese, or you're in some trouble then. I could definitely recommend this game. Now, it goes for $49.99 on Steam, so if you want cheaper than that, PC-wise, you're going to have to look for a sale, and there was no deal on free version as far as I'm aware of. When it comes to the PS4 version, currently it sits around $40 brand new and about $25 used, so it still has a pretty decent price tag on it a bit, depending on which route you go. I definitely think this is worth $49.99. $25 is a steal, and $30 to $40 is a pretty decent price for it, honestly. I definitely, if you're into visual novels, I think this is a very good game, because there's a lot of side content that I'm probably not going to do myself, even after I get the true end in the additional character storyline. There's apparently a few other goofy storylines that aren't as serious, without getting into any spoilers with those, and some extra bonus minigame. And during the game, I found a weird instance when I was streaming and I was just talking over a segment, and a weird little code slid on the screen. I entered it, and it gave me a side story for one of the characters. Now, there's apparently like 20-something of these secret side stories you can unlock in the game as well. So there's a lot of extra goodies to do in this game, let alone the main storyline being a very lengthy, I kept feeling like near the end, it became almost practically a meme, and within thinking that, I streamed the last 12 hours of the game in one day, and I was like, well, so much for that being quote-unquote near the end. It is a pretty decent, lengthy game. I really enjoyed the story, and the only real big problem I have with it, you can clear the text by holding all one in and hold it in, and all the information will disappear. So you can do a screenshot of the picture and stuff. You get functionality like that. There's auto text type mode, which is a little odd because usually that's more in voice acted stuff usually. So like I said, there's no voice acting in this, so that's slightly odd to, because you think you would want to control it, because you know it's no guarantee it's going to be the pace that you read at. But the big thing that really annoyed me in this game was the speed. So, like I said, you can cause bad endings, and you have to go back to different characters to figure out how to get all the characters to the next time chunk. And I do definitely appreciate it faking you out. Like, you can get to be continues and keep outs, which a keep out you can only get to continue by doing a jump. Even if you went the wrong way, you can still get to a to be continued in a keep out. So it fakes you to thinking you did it right. And I appreciate that. But the thing I hate is the speed option by holding the X button on PS4 isn't really a speed option. It still goes at a very minor pace. And sometimes, depending on what you do, there were a few times I had to go over a very large selection of story to fucking get fixed, and it is very annoying when the speed up option, like, I mean, I remember fucking visual novel games back when people used to fucking like users, not like companies, would translate Japanese visual novel games in the early 2000s. You know, they have speed up options that'll literally just go in a blink of an eye until you get to something you've never seen before. So it feels kind of inexcusable, even if we were to go off the Nintendo Wii version. Kind of inexcusable not to have something like that. Now, I think that's about, in general, everything really there. I just overall enjoyed it. Now, some voice acting would be probably nice, especially if you're more of a sub versus dub type person. Some people will enjoy listening to Japanese voice actors, but like I said, there is none in the main game. Apparently the anime extra character after the true ending apparently has some voice acting. I saw a small snippet and it did have some voice acting. I don't know if it's completely, because I didn't want to spoil it. That part I definitely want to at least experience. I know who it's bad at, but I definitely can recommend this, especially like I said, if you're into 999 or Danganronpa. It definitely has a crazy convoluted story. It's more based in a realism-ish scenario versus some of the bizarre insanity that those series have gone in. So keep in mind that. But I still think the kind of craziness of its plot can still be enjoyed by those fan bases. So I definitely recommend this game for those who are into a good mystery, visual novels, and trying to figure out what the fuck's going on and trying to get your way through. So definitely would recommend between 30 40 for sure. But I personally feel like the $49 price tag was definitely worth it. I mean, you know, localizing a fully story text-based game is costly. So I can understand being a bit, at least it wasn't $60. It could have been worse, yeah. But if you want to cheapen out a little bit, 30 to 40 sounds like a really good price range. So those are my subjective opinions and all that. So going into spoiler territory, this is a please turn around, don't ruin the story for yourself. Go get the game. But if you have played the game and you just want to hear my thoughts on the story, that's what this part's for. So you got 3, 2, 1, go. Here we go, spoils. So you slowly find out that this kidnapping plot slowly turns into involving an a vaccination, a Ebola strain virus and shit, and all kinds of crazy stuff. And it just starts getting confusing if the person behind all this wanted the vaccine. Did they want to show power? Did they just insane? Did they want revenge against the family making the vaccine? Like, it's like it keeps bouncing around. What the hell is ultimately going on? And you find out, basically, they just wanted to weaponize the virus by getting rid of the vaccine, essentially, and getting one sample so they could have it in their own pocket, of course. But they wanted to get rid of the rest of the world having any access to it. So that was the ultimate plan. Now, I have to say, I always enjoy these kind of plots when the mastermind behind it is somebody you know. And luckily, if you're a fan of that like I am, this game does so. It really sets up a lot of characters to make you think they may be the mastermind that. So there's a lot of red herrings, but it was nice to know that somebody you did meet about, I'd say 30% into the game, turned out to be the mastermind masquerading at so. And they really did a good job hiding them in and making excuses that made sense on how they were able to fake who they was and everything. I really liked that. That was very well done. And interestingly, the additional anime storyline you get after the true ending actually has to do with the character that the mastermind faked being. So I look forward to checking that out and seeing if we can learn more about that character. So in the final, you also get 2 more characters that join, because certain characters, the scientist, the daughter with amnesia, they get in, then the journalist gets in a little just before the last 2 hours, I believe, of the game. So 2 more characters unlock: the detective who kidnapped one of the twins, or was, well, majority chasing, then got one, and and then Stanley. And they help keep the jumping and trying to make multiple choices that save and kill people more. Because when I got to that point, I was like, oh shit, there's only 2 characters left. The end's going to be very linear. Then you get 2 more characters unlocked, and it becomes a fucking jumbled up mess trying to fucking find out how to save everyone from dying from bombs and guns and being backstabbed. And it was pretty fucking crazy, actually, from what I was originally thinking it was going to turn out. I really liked it. Now, the normal ending was a little disappointing because it kind of cliffhanged, and like I said, I was wondering about if there was anything more. And like I said, there was a true ending that adds a little bit more to the ending, and it adds a little bit more epilogue to the characters at the end and to the mastermind. And like I said, then you get an additional character that hopefully will talk more about the additional part of the ending you see with the mastermind. I really enjoyed this game. Definitely going to recommend it to people to play if you enjoy mystery visual novels. Again, like I said, interestingly, this came out before Danganronpa or 999 ever came out. So a lot of people apparently in Japan pointed to this game being an inspiration to certain mechanics and ideas in those games. So if you're fans of those games, I definitely would check this out, because I don't think they're very far off. I mean, it is the exact same company that made both of them. Not necessarily the same people, though. Interestingly, there are a few I checked a few of the wiki pages. The producer, oddly enough, has a lot of connections to, Dragon Quest 1 to 5. He has a lot of work in several mystery dungeon games, oddly enough. But not so many visual novels listed, at least on his wiki page. And then the Whitehall that's linked on the wiki page has a lot to do with Fate Grand Order, the Fate series. So, I mean, almost everything he has to do with Fate. He has a few other visual novels. He also had his hands in Melty Blood. So, now, there are a bunch of other writers in that don't have wiki pages, so I didn't check too deep in them, but there were 4 writers for this game and 3 composers, so there was quite a few different people. The composers have their hands in all kinds of stuff. Hell, this composer even's done anime, so there's quite a few different interesting connections to this game with it, so definitely worth checking out. If you have any questions or anything, please feel free to leave a comment down below, and if you feel like you learned something interesting, feel free to leave a like, And if you feel like you've learned absolutely nothing, which I can't really imagine that easily, considering this was a pretty obscure, weird game and a visual novel, which makes it not very mainstream, so I find it very hard if you didn't learn anything when I read a lot of interesting things, but if somehow you knew all that, feel free to leave a dislike, guilt-free. Till next time, be careful out there on the proving ground, and beware those blue vans. I'll never look at them the same again.
どうだった？私の作った